Welcome to the show. Picture this. A forklift operator's on the deck on night shift. The machine's stopped crooked. A few blokes are already saying they know exactly what happened. And somebody, because of course they are, wants to move the forklift just to clear the area. That, right there, is where good investigations either start properly or die in the car park. A decent investigator does not begin with who stuffed it up. That's not investigation. That's office gossip with a high-vis vest on. Good investigators start with immediate actions. Make the place safe. Make sure emergency response is sorted. Secure the site and stop the evidence getting trampled, tidied up, or rewritten by time. The first hour matters because evidence degrades fast. Weather gets at it. People move things. Switches get reset. Someone grabs the radio log. Someone else helps by cleaning up. Before you know it, the scene looks neat, the story sounds polished, and the truth has buggered off. So what are you locking in early? Photos. Lots of them. Before anything is moved. General area, close-ups, positions of equipment, guards, barriers, valves, switches, controls. Position of injured people, if that can be done appropriately and lawfully. Position of witnesses. Illumination, visibility, noise, housekeeping, weather. If the site involved an emergency or statutory authority, you get authorization before entry. None of this cowboy stuff where half the site wanders through because they're curious. And while you're doing that, you're also thinking risk. What's the actual consequence? What was the potential consequence? What level of investigation does this need? Sometimes it's a lower level event, and 5 whys will do the job. Sometimes it's bigger, uglier, and you need full ICAM. The point is, choose the method based on risk and learning opportunity, not on who's free after lunch. I've seen this 100 times, maybe 1,000, where the obvious answer turns up in under 5 minutes. Driver error. Operator wasn't concentrating. Didn't follow procedure. Nice and tidy. Bit like blaming the smoke alarm for the fire. The obvious answer is usually just the first lazy answer that makes management feel like the problem lives in one person instead of the system. Good investigators resist that pressure. They don't do premature conclusions. They use validated facts, not vibes. They secure the scene, preserve the data, set the scope, get their terms of reference straight, and control documents from the start. Because once the circus starts telling stories, you're no longer investigating what happened. You're investigating who won the race to sound confident. And if you remember one thing from this chapter, make it this. In the first hour, speed matters, but not the speed of your opinion. Once the scene's controlled, the next trap is thinking data gathering means wandering around asking random questions until you've filled a notebook. That's not a method. That's a bushwalk with admin. Good investigators plan their data around PEEPO. People, environment, equipment, procedures, organization. It's simple, and that's why it works. Under people, you're looking at who was involved, training, experience, supervision, fatigue, communication, teamwork, maybe even the previous 72-hour history if it matters. Environment, weather, lighting, noise, contaminants, ground conditions, visibility. Equipment, design, condition, testing, maintenance, modifications. Procedures, what was supposed to happen, what actually happened, whether a risk assessment, permit, JSA, or Take 5 existed and was fit for purpose. And organization, that's where the grown-up stuff lives. Planning, resources, communication, contractor management, training systems, operational feedback, culture. Now, interviews. Witness interviews are not interrogations. You are not a detective in a bad crime show leaning over a steel table asking, "Where were you at 9:13?" The aim is accurate, relevant information so you can build a timeline and analyze properly. That means start broad. First, free recall. Tell me in your own words what you remember. Then, open questions. What happened next? What can you tell me about the task? Then, active listening. Eye contact, silence, nodding, not interrupting. Then paraphrasing. So what you're saying is, Only after that do you use closed questions to pin down detail. Leading questions? Use with caution and only to test or clarify something already raised. Loaded questions? Bin them. How careless was he? Is rubbish. It contaminates memory and tells the witness what answer you want. Because memory is not a CCTV system. It's fallible, malleable, and easily contaminated. Stress affects perception. Elapsed time affects recall. Collaboration muddies things. Personality, motivation, distraction, trauma, all of it matters. Interview too late, in the wrong place, with the wrong tone, and you'll get a polished fiction that sounds believable as hell. This is why I've spent a fair chunk of my career politely retiring the phrase operator error. Well, politely-ish. It's the safety profession's favourite cop-out. Human error might be present, sure. A slip, lapse, mistake, violation, fine. But if you stop there, you've learnt nothing useful. Why was the error possible? Why was the violation tolerated? What conditions shaped the choice? What defence was absent? What organisational factor was sitting there like an unpaid invoice? Interview early, but not when someone's in shock or pain. Private setting. Get permission before recording. Let them know you're taking notes. Give them a break if needed. Let them review what you wrote. Ask at the end if they've got anything else to add and what they reckon could prevent it happening again. Funny that. Sometimes the people closest to the mess know exactly where the system's cracked. Here's where plenty of investigations fall in a heap. The report looks terrific. 12 appendices, glossy photos, executive summary fancier than a wedding invite. And the findings are mush. Tremendous document. Useless learning. A good investigator makes the report useful. That starts with separating contributing from non-contributing factors. Not every fact matters causally. The time of the incident may be a fact. The colour of the vehicle may be a fact. Doesn't mean either contributed. If you chuck everything in as causal, you dilute the real story and make the analysis look like alphabet soup. Then build a clean timeline. Pre-incident events, the incident itself, the point where control was first lost, and the post-incident response until the hazard was under control. A good timeline helps you resolve conflicting accounts and spot missing data. If someone not involved can read it and understand how the sequence progressed, you're on the right track. From there, you follow the causal chain properly. In 5 whys, keep asking why until you hit either a point of organisational control, a point beyond control, or a point where you need more information. In ICAM, move the contributing factors across and classify them properly. Absent or failed defences, individual or team actions, task or environmental conditions, and organisational factors. Not because boxes are sexy, they're not, but because the structure stops you kidding yourself. And once you've found the organisational factors, don't bottle it. Procedures, training, communication, maintenance management, risk management, management of change, contractor management, organisational learning. These are where repeat pain comes from. If 8 rollover incidents happened in 18 months and no one followed up the actions, that's not bad luck. That's the system sending you a memo with a brick tied to it. Recommendations, then, should be smarter, specific, measurable, accountable, reasonable, timely, effective, reviewed. And they should use the hierarchy of controls. Eliminate if you can. Substitute, isolate, engineer. Admin and PPE are lower order controls, sometimes necessary, sometimes interim. But if your grand corrective action is retrain staff and put up a poster, don't act shocked when the same old nonsense comes back wearing a different hat. Laminated posters have never once fixed a broken system. They just make the lunchroom look committed. The best investigators also make sure findings get trended across the organisation. Codes, themes, repeat organisational factors, recurring failed defences. That's where real learning lives. Not in one report, but in patterns across many. Good investigations strengthen defences, improve the design of work, and stop known rubbish getting a second go. So if your investigation ends with one person blamed and everyone else relieved, you haven't learnt a thing. If it ends with the system made harder to fail, now you're investigating.